first thing would be to check the data. So AFOS organization or a data organization is per plant. So you can organize data to have different plants in your system. That can be a physical plant or can be a logical plant or virtual plant where you can just store data and test some things. Plants can be completely separate, and they have their code name. Okay, indication which subscription is that, location, country, weight unit can be metric, US imperial or UK imperial, should be in kilos or in tons, what's the batch size, currencies, dry matter configuration. So dry matter nutrient is needed for all calculations, so you need to specify which nutrient is actually a dry matter nutrient. Number of working days, this is not important at the moment. Something I will show you later about cross matrix systems and smaller options. But let's start with that. So you you start by configuring your plants. Then the next thing would be to check your nutrients. AFOS comes with predefined approximately 150 raw materials and 75 nutrients, and but you can of course add your own or check these. All the data is represented in these tables, and these tables have the following structure. So some of the properties like code, abbreviation, name, description, group, unit, and list of actions. First action is always added, so I can open, for example, a crude protein and configure all those properties and add some attachments if needed, like PDF files, images, or something like that. It can be cloned or duplicated. It can be cloned to a different plant. You can check the history of that. So if they're not that important, probably nutrients will not change. And there's also two interesting features. For example, if you have a lot of formulas and you were working with crude protein constraint, like let's say 20%. And at the company level, you decide that you want to go and 20.5, something like that. You don't need to go formula by formula. You can go here and say quick update constraints. And these are all the formulas that use crude protein and have constraints. So I can easily change constraint for this nutrient on multiple formulas. Or I can also quick update all, raw materials that have this nutrient. So all raw materials that have crude protein are listed here with their quantity levels. Okay, of course, I can quick search here and say, okay, I can easily find what I'm looking for. So these are these are the nutrients. It's important here to check the units. So all the units are listed here, and list of available units is listed here in options. So all the units are available here. You can, of course, add your own unit if needed. And what's also interesting here is, for example, is to check, to give it a name and to check min and max value if you want to use that. AFOS will alarm you later if this is outside these limits. Let me just. I thought this here. Okay, so the next thing you would like to check are raw materials. AFOS again comes with 190 raw materials, examples, and this data is our data. We gathered this over the years. There's also options here when you go to import, export, to import INRA or NRC databases besides this AFOS data. or to, of course, import your files. It can be possible through import CSV. If you choose import CSV, a type of import raw materials, you can download example files, and then you can format your Excel files or CSV files in this way, so AFOS can understand it and import your data. This can be tricky sometimes. So if you need any help with that in the future, feel free to reach out, send us your data. Or if it's not in a CSV format, if it's some database, if it's in a readable format, we will be able to help you transfer the data if you like. Raw materials again comes in this table, and have the same structure with code, name, description, price, is it available or not, group, and the actions are edit, clone to a different plant, a quick update constraint. Again, similar story like before for nutrients. I can update formulas that use this raw material and configure their constraints. History is available here. So we don't delete things. When you update a formula or you update a raw material, we will save both versions. So actually, those are arrays of elements, let's say that way. So raw material is not just a raw material as it is now. Every iteration, every time you click save, we will save the new version, but save also a previous version. So you can go to history and check what was which raw material is this? Never mind, it's wheat. What was it? Sorry. What was it a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago? What was it? What were the values? Well, the nutrient values. You can even track raw material changes. For example, I can print price on a chart like this. So this is how raw material history changed. I can filter here by period. And every time I have a chart, I can save this as an image or even save this as a CSV. So you will have, for example, price history in a CSV file if you need it. Similar is for nutrients. Okay, I can check, for example, how the crude protein levels changed in this raw material over the years. Again, I can export as an image or even as a CSV and track nutrient or protein level, for example, in wheat over the years. I'm sorry. What's also important here for raw materials is, we call them dependencies, or dependencies are formulas for automatic recalculation of one nutrient based on another. A good example is amino acid levels based on crude protein. And if I want to create it, I would go open the nutrient, open the raw material, and select this button, dependencies, for example, for lysine. I will open it, and I have a full calculator to select my formula. I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't know the formula, how to calculate lysine level based on crude protein, but it can be something like this: crude protein plus 3, plus some. You can even add more nutrients. So you can create a complex formula. So when I click save, now I have indication that I have a dependency here for lysine. And for example, if I change this to 14, it will be automatically recalculated lysine level. When I create this dependency, we can clone it to group. So raw material hard wheat is in group cereals. And if I click this button, it will be cloned to all raw materials in the group cereals. I can remove the dependency. And there's also a way you can think of this as a push action. So I can push this dependency to all raw materials in the group, but also I can use pull like this. So I can open a different, raw material, and then I will pull from here. AFOS will check which raw material has the formula for lysine dependency, and it will offer me here, okay, I have listen in the hulled oats and in wheat, and I can pull clone here. Now this raw material has the formula. So there are two ways. When you create a new dependency, you could push it to the whole group or pull individually to other raw materials. Here is also important to check your prices. They are configured in the currency, which is configurable per plant, and weight unit also configurable per plant. That was one of the topics, but we will talk more about the units. Is it available or not? There is an option in plant options to include or exclude raw materials that are not available during the optimization. By default, it will be included because formulas are theoretical, so you can implement it in the production when the time is right. But you can exclude, you can configure in a way that raw materials that are not available will be excluded from the optimization. Rounding is, if you're using manual rounding, this will be at the default value that is offered during rounding. Active raw material price lists. So this means that there can be, I will talk more about price lists, but this will indicate in which price list is this price is coming from. And data origin means, is this our configuration, or this is a NRC or INRA database? So you can understand where this raw material is coming from. So also, every time in all these tables, there is an option to have this quick search. So it's more like a filter, or advanced search, where you can search by some properties. So by code, something like this, or by more of them. So let's say like this 10 and something like this. So I can find and filter by multiple properties. Okay. I can add a new raw material. Its edit mode means I can select more of them. When I click edit mode, I can open here and go like in Excel with tab and, for example, change prices fast. So now we understand our units, we configured our nutrients, we configured our raw materials. And the next thing is probably to create the first simple formula. So formulas are created here in the formulas. Again, the same story. A table, everything can be done here. Quick search filter, actions. Again, also important here is to say, like for raw materials, that this is the full history here. All the versions of the formula are available. You can go back in history and find all the versions of the formula through time with all the details, formula data, raw materials, nutrients, ratios, additional costs, and everything else. But let's create a new simple formula. We can start from an empty one or from a template, and you can create templates like formulas, but you can say here, okay, this is not the formula, this is a template, but let's start with a simple formula. So this new formula screen, we should configure some code. Add an animal group or something like this. It can be compound or a premix. More features are available here. Properties, a version. You can set a version, a formula type, as I said, a template or a formula. Batch size is configured in the plant configuration, but can be overwritten here if you want to use a different batch size for this formula. Carrier, if you like to use manual rounding, and nutrient constraints type can be as feed, as fed, and dry matter base. This is my area where I can create a new formula. So raw materials, nutrients, of the formula and my database. And I can find here corn. I can double click and I'm not sure why this browser. I can double click, I can select a few and add, or I can even drag and drop raw materials. Same story for nutrients, dry matter, crude protein, fat, fiber, adding. And here I can create constraints, mean and max constraints, for nutrients. I can also create something that we call POC or post-optimization coefficients or post-optimization dependencies, are formulas where you can calculate some values after the fact. After optimization, you can run a calculation. So an example would be you can create a new nutrient that is not physical nutrient, but some calculated nutrient like energies, digestibility, something, and you can create this formula, post-optimization coefficients or dependencies, that are again calculated with this full calculator after the fact. Very useful for such things like energies, digestibility, or similar stories. These are basic constraints, min and max, but also you can create raw material ratio, or even closer to you, probably that much I know about that formulation, that you need, I think, calcium ratio with some other nutrient. So you can create it here, nutrient ratios, add new, and you can create all the only nutrients that are added to the formula are listed. So this is just an example. Ratio between crude protein and fat, and formula is here. So crude protein will be between 1 and 2 times fat. Same story is for raw material ratios. There's something we call group constraint, something like this. I have 2 sources of oats, and both of them can have like 5% constraint, but I can combine those constraints and saying something like this. Individually, oats and the hulled oats can have up to 5, for example, but together shouldn't be more than 8. And now we have constraints something like this in the formula: oats plus the hulled oats, max 8. Additional cost items. So these are the items that you can add to the formula. This will increase the total cost of the formula. I gave it some examples here: bag and print, disperse, electricity, operation maintenance, and some templates. So these items are configurable. You can add new one or use these, and you can set these values. Values important here to notice is that additional costs are can be given in percent of the batch cost, of the raw material cost. So disperse can be 1% or 0.5% from the batch cost. It can be given in currency per weight unit of the formula, or flat price. So I have operation maintenance. It doesn't depend on the percent, doesn't depend on how much I produce, just flat rate of, I don't know, $100 for this formula for operation maintenance. When you configure these additional costs, I can even save them as a patterns and load them. So I can have new pattern, summer pattern, winter pattern, and I choose this winter pattern. I will go here and see that it's pre-configured. So bag and print and disperse. Different properties of the formula, properties of the animal. So you can search later by it, but it can be age, from to, sex, weight, from and to is for disease, body condition type, sales price, currency per weight unit, production weight per day, a package size, or some description. And again, attachments. So this can be pictures or bags or PDF files or whatever you like. When I configure the formula, the optimization is done here on this compound screen. This is practically main screen for the daily use. And first, I will hide this menu so I can have more space, since I'm running on a smaller laptop. I can even, so these are folders with all my formulas. I can have them by animal type, or some clients use them by their clients, or by feed type, dry, wet, something like that. But you can organize in folders. I can hide even this. I can hide this. Sorry, I can hide this also screen or panel to have more space. And I can also do one more thing. I can organize this data. So here I have two tables for raw materials and nutrients, top and bottom. But I can arrange like this, side by side, if you like, side by side. Or I can even go in full screen mode, so I can have only the formulas, or I can even hide one table or another. One more detail about this is if I'm working in a low light environment, it can be sometimes nice to include to start this, we call night mode or dark mode. So no flashing light, white color during the night. Let me go back like this. And so this is my formula which I just created. And here are the totals. So total cost, previous total cost, unit price, batch sum, and sum. So sum is, 100%. It will always be 100% if you use formulate button, which will run actually optimization engine. But if you manually tweak the formula, of course, you can configure what would you like. Batch sum is defined, or again, by the batch size or the mixer. A batch price, this includes only costs of raw materials, unit batch price by 1 kilo or 1 pound. A total cost will include batch cost, batch price, and additional costs. So what included there, disperse, electricity, and other things. And previous total cost is showing here. So since this is an iterative process, you will be able to, if you're manually tweaking, able to see, are you going in the right direction? Are the formula becoming cheaper or not? And optimization status. So different optimization status can be optimal. Formula has been optimized, means you pressed formulate button, and this is the result of the optimization engine. Optimal star means the formula, if you see, there's a smaller, the formula has been optimized, but the constraints have been modified afterward. How is that possible? So I optimized, I pressed save, but changed the values here. So instead of 20, I add 30. So now it indicates that this is optimal star. So I changed the constraint. So these results in weight actually do not represent the current constraints on the screen. So you understand that this status means that. Suboptimal means, well, suboptimal solution. It was infeasible, and we proposed second best or suboptimal. Infeasible, mathematically cannot be solved. Not optimized, you just created this formula and it wasn't being used. Manual, you just manually configured results, you manually configured weights. And abnormal, the formula does not have an optimal solution. Sometimes solver can say it's not infeasible, something is wrong with the formula. So there's an error in the formula. So those are the totals. Raw materials, nutrients. What I have configured is, okay, code, name, price, min and max constraint, results, weight in kilos or in weight unit, batch price, nutrient distribution, and hints. I can go like in Excel with my arrows on my keyboard and move through the formula. So I can easily change the values. You don't need just to click. You can use arrows on the keyboard. And you can work here on the formula. What are the hints? Hints are different, some analytics that can help you understand the results. One of them is boundary cost chart. So you see this arrow pointing down, saying this means that this formula hit the minimum. So we hit the minimum constraint, and it will tell us how the formula price will change if I change that constraint. So minimum was 25, and I see if I decrease it, there will be no big differences. But if I increase constraint minimum for soybean, it will become more expensive formula, and in one moment it will be infeasible. It will not be able to solve. Share chart indicates how the raw material share will change if I change raw material price. In this case, share will not change. It will always be 25%. But in some cases, you can see that if you decrease the price just for a fraction, that raw material will go up or down in the share in the formula. Contribution chart is showing this. So how much of each nutrient I'm receiving from this raw material. So raw material, this is soybean meal, 50. I'm receiving 59.1% of the whole protein in this formula is coming out of soybean, which is 20.25% out of 20.76% in the formula. So it gives me info about the relative contribution and absolute contribution of this raw material. A raw material distribution. So you see this column, nutrient distribution and raw material distribution. So if I choose soybean and click this button, I will receive information here, how much of each nutrient I'm receiving from that raw material, or I will choose protein and select nutrient distribution, and I see nutrient digestible energy, how much I'm receiving this nutrient from each raw material. If you don't like all these columns, and there are more columns, you can configure them. It's configured in options, general options, dashboard, raw material column, and all the columns. Okay, I selected all of them, but I can remove a few of them if I don't want to see them. Or the similar story is for nutrients. All the columns are showing, but I can remove some of them if I don't want them to if I don't need them. These are the raw materials. I can show here raw material ratios and group constraints. Similar is for nutrients, the table, and for nutrients and for ratios. And I can see code, name, abbreviation. Also, I can, for example, hide name or abbreviation. Probably I don't need both of them. Unit, sometimes I also hide this because I know in which unit is, especially after a while when using the system, you will know which units are for which nutrient. Min and max constraint is in as feed basis. Results in as feed and dry matter, distribution, and hints. Again, distribution chart. So distribution of energy in the formula per raw materials, or these distributions. Similarly, I can go with my keyboard and go through here if I want to change something. Every heading of this table is actually a sort action. So I can sort by code, I can sort by name, by results in both tables. Sorry. And I can add new raw materials here. So I don't need to go to edit formula. If I like, I can open this here and edit formula and have this dedicated screen for the edits, for changes. But I can, those quick actions to add from here is easy from here. So fish meal 60, and I can easily add it through here, or I can easily remove a raw material with this button here at the end. What else is also here important on this screen? Yeah, these buttons on the top. So formulate is a simple thing. So mathematically runs optimization engine, least cost result. So straightforward. Calculate, I can manually tweak the formula and say result in percent instead of 25 can be 30. And now this state has changed to manual. And this can be actually 20 and playing with the results. And then I can go to calculate to use results table or percent and weight. So I can manually configure weight. This is probably impossible to measure in the 129.3 kilos. So this is probably something like this. And then I can recalculate the bottom table or the nutrients from my manually configured results. If I choose rounding, I can select, okay, I need a carrier for this section. I'll say, okay, in this formula, I will use corn as a carrier. And now I can edit rounding values. I can check them. So rounding, I can round wheat on 1 kilo, soybean on 2 kilos, and some beet pulps on 1 kilo. So I can select these values. And when I'm happy with the values, I can click on rounding, and rounding will be applied. How it is done? Values are added and abstracted from the carrier to preserve to save the batch sum to be equal to the batch size, to have 100%, and to actually round on those values. When I'm done with the formula, when I'm happy with the formula, I can click save, and the formula is saved. Again, noticing that the old version is also saved. This is just this one is on the top. We can think like that way, or I can save it as a new raw material. I'm sorry, I'm a little existing raw material, and I can save and increment version of the formula. Why is that versions important? Well, if you have a lot of formulas, what is a good practice? Let me just find it. You can have these versions. Now I'm not using the version on this formula, but for example, you have a major version and a subversion. So not every save will actually increase a version. Version can be, for example, increased when you are adding new raw material or changing constraints for important nutrients, like going from 20 to 21 protein or something like that. Then you can increase version. And then if you don't need it, if you're just doing minor changes or price changes, you don't need to, for example, to increase the version. It will help you easily find major versions of the formula. For example, I have here, I think 20 different formula or 10 historical versions of the formula, and can easily find which one made some big changes, in which one were made changes. There's few analytics here. RMN matrix can be used to show all nutrients in the formula with all raw materials in the formula. If something is wrong with the formula, you are getting a wrong result. It's most of the time is some typo with the data. Some comma somewhere is not decimal places, something like that. So if you open this raw material nutrient matrix, you'll be able to easily scroll to all the data and see, are there some typos, are there some missing values or something like that. Of course, you can filter here by raw material, nutrient, or raw material group. And again, contribution chart. So I can select all raw materials and get something like this. This is showing me, for example, let's see, crude protein. And I can easily understand where I'm getting my protein from. So in this case, I'm getting 1% or in relative values, or 0.23 in absolute values from premix, 59% from soybean, or relative or absolute 12.25, and so on. So this chart will help me understand where I'm getting my nutrients from. Again, this can be saved as an image. Analytics. batch prices chart. So why are the prices like this? So soybean meal is 50.8% or $8,500 out of 17,000, something like that. So you can understand the prices. Analytics, formula cost analysis. So raw material cost is almost 17,000. Bag and print, disperse, electricity, operation, maintenance. So these are additional costs. So the total at the end is 28 and variable and fixed. So I have operation maintenance fixed cost 400. Total cost or variable plus fixed is this. Formula sales price is this. So margin, I'm losing a lot with this formula. And I can save this as a PDF file. Compare. So I can compare my formula with a different formula or with the same formula but some historical value version. So my today's version of the formula and one from July. So differences are highlighted. So I can see this. Oh, it was disease and the body was thin. Now no. Temperature. Some notes are different. Raw materials, yeah, why different? Some of them are added. Green one, if there was some removed, so these are removed, not existing anymore in the formula. Everything is highlighted, the differences. And in this pie chart here, you can see the differences of the formula. I can compare results or weight column from the screen or batch price. All the nutrients are here, their differences, raw materials ratios, nutrient ratios, group constraints, additional items, for example, electricity. Well, it seems that was the same. I'm not sure why it's highlighted here, but okay. So analytics is that. There are actions. One small change can be these constraints are currently given in percent. If I go to action and show constraints, it can in kilos or in pounds, it can be configured there. I'll return to min max in percentage. And also there is an action called extract premix. So if you create a complex formula that's both compound and premix, you can go here to extract formula and say, okay, from this my huge and complex formula, this browser, not sure why it's. Let me just refresh. So actions, extract premix, and I select a few raw materials. Say this can be a premix, and here I see, but with raw materials and the nutrients values. If I create a premix out of these three nutrients, raw materials, I can create that, save that, and say, okay, new premix code, new premix name, which animal group will go to, and what percentage should I use? And here are raw materials. All available raw materials are listed here. And I can create new premix raw material group, in which group for raw materials this premix will be saved to. I can print a formula when I'm happy in PDF, Word, Excel, or template. So PDF, the simplest thing. A very simple report, formula details, raw materials, nutrients, and straightforward. No too much configurations or actually any configurations are available for this report. We call it just quick report. So just a quick temporary report if you need it. But you can create a complex reports in the application we call report generator. Just see, are there any things left here? I think I showed everything about how to create the formula and how to manage and optimize the formula. Let me just mention here, yes, when you want to retire a formula, you don't need to delete it. You can just go to archive and it will be hidden from here. You will be able, if I hide it, I will go to formulas. It will be, see, it's grayed, and it seems like it's inactive here on the list of all formulas and appeared on the bottom. So all the formulas that you want to for example, hide from this compound screen, you can archive that, and you will not be able to see it anymore. Okay. Report generator. So you're happy with the formula, you want to create a report. Let's start one from scratch. So when I created the report, I get this canvas here and these components, and I add a component. For example, a formula, I drag and drop a formula. I need to choose formula options. I choose formula, this mates. And let's say something like this. And now I see a formula, raw materials, nutrients, with all the details. But now I can use this panel to additionally configure. So a lot of configurations are available here. I can hide formula name or show it like this, mains at top. Show formula description, font sizes, completely hide that table with totals, or I can hide these individual columns. For example, sometimes batch price, when I'm sending this, this will not be shown. Or I can even hide completely this table. So you can check these, a lot of things, or I can exclude raw materials with 0 results, and so on. I can even price. Well, I don't need the price. Price, and batch price. I hide it. So yeah, min max, result in percent, and result in weight, and I can send this to anybody. They don't need to know my prices. Similar way, I can hide in nutrients. I can hide completely this table and have just raw materials. I will do that. If I'm sending, for example, a work order for production or something like that, I will completely hide this table, and I have a very simple report. Raw material code, names. Sometimes I don't even need constraints. Okay, I will hide them too and send just code name result in percent in weight. Maybe I don't need even this, then I just need weight, and this can be a simple work order. Different components are available here. So I added this very simple formula, but I can also drag and drop formula description, raw materials, text, images, or any of these charts I showed. Like I said, I will put a chart here and saying, just for presentation purposes, something like this. I can add a different chart here, something like this. So here's my report. Print, I can print preview, I can print directly from here, or I can, of course, save it, add some code, and that's it. Now, from the compound screen, when I'm trying to print, I have PDF, Word, Excel, and I have template. I will choose my template, this 100 template, and print. And this is it. So advanced reporting is done like that through this report generator. The next thing important here to show is something we call multi-blend. You can think of that as a batch optimization or a what-if simulation engine, something like that. And what does it do? Use case is the following. You have a lot of formulas, you have 50 formulas, you have 100 formulas, a lot of formulas to optimize practically regularly every time prices on the market change. That's the best use case. So it can take a lot of time to open every single formula, to go to compound screen, open every single formula, formulate, save, and okay, sorry, I thought this was a question. And it can take a lot of time. Go away. does not want to go. Okay. But with multi-blend, you can select your folders or individual formulas inside and just click formulate. And all the formulas are optimized in just in a few clicks, all of them. This is not saved, you have just temporary results here on the screen. And you can check these totals. You can expand the formula and see the details. See the raw materials of the selected formula, nutrients, or even, I will show that in a second, or save from here. You can save selected formula. So I'm happy with these two, and I can click save and it will be saved. So if I have my formulas that I need to optimize every day to check, to include new prices, I can do it just in a few clicks. Select all my formulas or a folder with the formula, click formulate, for example, select all of them and click save. Why not all of them are selected when I selected here to select all of them? Because we can save only ones that are optimized. We are not saving ones that are infeasible. So not to mix up data. So that's the major use case for the multi-blend, but there are more use cases. What is the next use case? You want to analyze impact of a change, of raw material change. For example, there's a new raw material on the market, which is a little more expensive than your existing one, but has little more protein. Should you buy it or not? It's a complex decision. It needs to include all the formulas. It needs to include all the costs. Or you are getting a new prices from a supplier. You want to check them. You are receiving new raw material samples. What can you do? So I selected all my formulas and I'm choosing actions. This panel here will show actions. Actions can be add raw material to all selected formulas, add nutrient to all selected formulas, replace raw material, replace nutrient, or delete. And I will replace raw material with the following example. So I will replace my corn with some other corn, something like this. Okay. And this is the action. I'm find in all formulas selected, find corn, replace with corn gluten free. Okay. And now I have an action here, replace, and I can have more actions. I'm just now creating a single action, but you can have more actions, replace, add, remove, and I click formulate. Now I get the optimization with the change. I mean, just, okay, have more space with the changes. And I have this column price difference. So if I change the corn to the other corn, this formula will be cheaper for $4. This one more expensive for $1, and this one also for almost $5. And I can click here and even check the differences with the formulas if I do this change. Or open a single page comparison. So different ways to compare the data. And if I'm happy, again, of course, I can save this. Save as. Different types of actions or possible here. I can even change raw material composition. What will happen to all of my formulas if I change in corn, if I change protein level from 9 to 9.1? So I can analyze so I'm not changing my actual raw material. So it's not saved in the database. This is just what if analysis. So I can check the impact of a change composition of raw material. And I can use cost lists. I will come to that, but let's say that I can have a different cost list and I can analyze impact of a cost list to all of my formulas or selected formulas. What are examples here? Some users say, okay, I will create a new cost list that will be my current costs, but increase for 3% or 5%. So let me analyze impact of a price hike for 5% of all my raw materials. I can do that in a few clicks. Or cost list can be a cost list from your supplier. You can send you regularly cost lists, and you can upload it here and analyze impact of new cost list on a large number of formulas. Okay, this is multi-blend. So what we said are nutrients, yeah, raw materials, formulas, multi-blend, and report generator. Next one could be a label designer. So you can design labels with AFOS. Let's start a new label. For this formula. And again, I have a canvas, I have some components, label name, formula name for which one is created, save as, export. I can save this late. I can print directly from here if I'm connected to the printer, or I can export as a PNG, SVG, JPEG, or PDF files. Now, let's see. I will enter my raw material statement. And the properties are here available. So font size, styles, alignments, paddings, and different things. Where are the nutrients? I will have all my nutrients here. I can add images or a logo or date and time, barcode, QR code, bag counter, or expiration date, or just a simple text where I can type whatever I want, or text template, which can be some, I don't have templates here, but can be directions of usage, some indications, or something like that. What's also important here, when I create this formula and save this, not formula, I'm sorry, this label, when I save it, let me just show you something. See this updated, see this status here. But when I will go now to formulas, oh, sorry, to compound, meadow-mates, just change something, formulate, save. And now when I go to label designer, now it states, this status says outdated. So this nutrient statement is not reflecting actual statement of the formula. It's changed in the meantime. What can you do? Well, you can, of course, ignore it and continue printing labels like this, but you can pick up, synchronize, and pick up new values from the formula. I need to say something here. So we understand that labels can be very different in different countries and different regions. So this is just our main version of the label designer. When you try it and when you try and you start printing and you start designing labels, if there is something you cannot do, feel free to reach out to us. We will be able to change this and update to accommodate your business process or your business requirements. Speaking of that, we publish new version of AFOS with new features practically almost every month or every 2 months. New features are coming all the time. So, and we will continue regularly to update this application. So feel free to propose new features, whatever it might be. Feel free to propose new features. We listen to our users, and we usually, most of the times, add those features that you require. So label designer was that. Let's go now to price cost list. Now, raw material. So I selected RM cost list, raw material cost list. I could create a new one from the current prices. I can, of course, change prices from here. And now I have a price list, which probably the same, it is completely the same as my current, but my prices. And I can have more price lists. These are the current prices. Now I can check and compare them. I can clone everything like in the others, like in others tables. So there's edit, clone, and so more. RM cost list. RM cost list analysis. I will show this later. Sales price. So This is a little more advanced things, and I need to configure a lot of things to show this. I will skip this for now. This RM cost list analysis, price list, and I will come back to that. A production planning is a simple tool that will help you calculate how much raw materials you need to order for some production plan. Example, I will select a few of my formulas. Something like this. I'm not even sure. So some of these names are empty inside. I just created presentation purpose. Let's say something like this. And I would say, okay, run production planning analysis. It can be to a specific date, exact amounts for number of days. That's like exact amounts. So I want to create 50 tons of meadow mates and 5 tons of the premix. When I click OK, I got this report. So it's telling me how much of each raw material I need to order to satisfy this plan. I need to order in tons, 6 tons of wheat, 4 tons of cane molasses. I need beet pulps, 12.5 tons, and so on. There are different views available here, group by formula, or expand. If I have already some premixes here, I can expand them. I can download this as a CSV or a PDF files. What are the other options is time. So I say I want this to analyze how much I need to order for my production plan from January 1st for a month. Sorry. Yeah, different values, 10 tons of wheat, cane molasses. How is this calculated? So specific date, I have configured, if you remember, in the formula, number of working days and number of production per day, and those two numbers will be included for this calculation. The third number is, okay, I want to, number of work days are 6, and let's say, for 10 weeks, my plan for 10 weeks. Yeah. So production planning will help you analyze and calculate how much of each raw material you need to order to satisfy some production plan. Different tools are available here in the app. Template formulas. So you can create template formulas here. Like you would create a simple formula, you create a template formula in the same way. Compare tool, I showed you that, so I can create versions of the formula or compare two different formulas. This formula is empty. Compare tool. Compare raw materials, the same story. Compare raw materials. Additional cost items, I was showing that. Let me show it here. So bag and print dispersed electricity, I can add, remove. I will remove temp cost, for example, which I created last time. So I don't need that. Or I can add it. And again, this can be given in percent, currency per weight unit, or flat price. Additional cost patterns, we have new patterns, summer and winter, show that. RMN matrix I showed. This is a formula raw material. So all of my formulas are listed on top, and all raw materials that are used in the formula. This way, for example, help me analyzing what raw material I use the most, how much of each raw material, for example, how much wheat I have in all my formulas, or how much cane molasses, or how much each raw material are in the formulas. A formula nutrient, similar story in all my formulas, what's the protein level? So in this, I can easily see that in a single table. So formula nutrients, a unit converter. If you want to convert all the values in the database, are given in something, you want to convert them to something. You don't need to manually do that. You would practically need to just create or check the formulas. We created a few of them from gram to kilo, or milligram, or kilocalories to megajoules. So there are some formulas here, and you can create them. And I'm not sure where it is run. When I create this, I even forgot. I forgot. I need to check with my team. When you create and these actions, where actually you can execute them. I will get back to you about this. Unit converter, event subscriber. So let me delete this so I can create a new one to show you. You will work in multi-user environment. Yes. So a lot of users will run in the app of most often simultaneously. And then I want to be notified if some of the events are happening. What are the events? Somebody created a nutrient, updated the nutrient, deleted the nutrient, created the raw material, updated or deleted, or same with the formula. Let's say I created a very important formula. I want to check it regularly, and I want to be updated, notified if somebody updated the formula. Notify me on my email, on my inside the app notification, or both. Let's say both. My email one that I'm created my account with. So in my plant, my plant AS, and this is my very important formula, and I want to be notified if somebody changes it. So I can, of course, subscribe to different events, but okay, let's say this one. So if anybody updated that formula, I will be notified on my email, and inside app notifications are here, notifications. So that's event subscriber. Photo gallery, of course, similar, very simple tool. You can upload different photos here. Users upload, for example, bags, print or logos, or something like that. Those are the tools. Audit module, answering the question, who did what when? So every action in the system ends up here. So you can check it. I deleted a cost item just right now. On this timestamp, user of object was formula, updated a formula. So batch price was different, unit price, total cost, formula, nutrients. I updated the formula. Yeah, I deleted the formula. I deleted the other formula, deleted the raw material, and so on. So this is answering the question, who did what when? You can, of course, select dates to filter this by date from and to, by user, by object. I want to check only if somebody's doing something with formulas. It can be even auto refresh. So let's say you have you can have this on the screen. It will be automatically refreshed when a new item arrives, new event happened. That's the audit module. Import export. I show that, but let's say import databases. Again, you can import INRA NRC database. It would be a good idea not to mix them, because then you will end up with multiple nutrients. So what should you use? Because when you import a database, it will import both nutrients and raw materials. So if you want to import both of them, you can have a specific plant, a plant where you import your data, the second plant for NRC, third plant for INRA databases. Import CSV, I showed, so you can import nutrients, raw materials, raw material availability, formulas, or cost lists. Every time you select it, there will be download example button where you can download actually that example and check how should you format your files in order to AFOS to be able to understand it. You can select file delimiter, or notify me. You can be notified when the import is over. If error occurred, you can stop or continue. And if item exists, it can be skipped or updated. So, for example, you're updating raw materials. There is a cord inside, but you already have cord inside. What should you do? Well, you can skip this if there is the same raw material, or you can update it with new values. That's import CSV. You can check the import history, who did what, when was last import. SDF import CSV. This only we see this because this allow us to import old AFOS databases. AFOS was 5 years ago. AFOS was a desktop application. We had a dedicated database, and if we want to migrate an old client, we use this option for that. We can export prices, export cost list, export formula costs in a single file. Again, I'm mentioning here that if you need some specific export or specific import, feel free to contact us. We will make it happen. I will also use an opportunity here to mention that AFOS is built with the idea of integrations. AFOS is modern software developed with the latest technologies, and we can integrate with anything, literally. So, of course, if the other side is allowing integration. What are the good examples? We can integrate with an inventory management, so we can import raw material availability and amounts. We can integrate with ERP software, so we can send prices and formula prices. We can integrate with laboratory software, so we can import new raw material results or nutrient statements, nutrient levels, and so on. Again, if you have specific requirements for integrations, again, feel free to contact us, and we will analyze the possibility of integration. Options, a few words about options. General options, simple things. Decimal places, dashboard options, column options, warn when you have saved. So I don't need to read all of them. Colors, fonts, date and time format, and similar things. Simple things. Plant options, I showed you plant options. I can see all my plants, raw material groups, nutrient groups. So what are the raw material groups? Simple things, animal groups, animal data, units, currencies. There was one thing about the units, type name. I'm not sure where is it. And I'm left also with, let me just check, import, export. The thing is left here are these sales analysis. I need to prepare a scenario for that. This is the empty database. I don't have the data to show this functionality. I will leave that. This is advanced thing, so I can show it in a few days. Do you maybe have any questions? I think I showed everything.